Welcome to the channel. This is Tabletop Syndicate. I'm Squints, and we got Joker Prime over here.
What's up?
So we are continuing our top 5 series. Both Joker Prime and myself have really enjoyed this series. Plus, it's just something we talk about all the time anyways. After we play games, we talk about some of our favorite pieces and characters and teams and so on and so forth. So we figured we might as well just make it official and make a video over the top 5, just anything. So make sure to go back and watch some of our other top 5s. This one, however, we're going to bring to you the top 5 Marvel sets.
Yes.
So it was really difficult to come up with this, but we did the best we could. We kind of just based this off of what are our favorite pieces that we've played and bought, and since we have gotten into the game, which was back in Avengers Infinity War.
Yep.
And so obviously that was back in like 2018 or so. There's been so many sets that were released before that, which we have bought into a little bit. And so just basically kind of our experiences with Clicks. If you have been playing for much longer than Joker Prime and myself, we would love to hear what you have to say. But our top 5 is just kind of like our own personal opinions, obviously, about what pieces we've bought and what teams we've built. And that's about it, really.
Yeah.
So I'll get it started off, I guess. So top 5, starting with number 5, we'll count our way up and we'll do some honorable mentions before we do our number 1. All right, so let's jump right into it. My number 5 is actually not a full-blown set. It was a starter, and I went with the Fantastic Four starter.
The Cosmic Clash.
Cosmic Clash, that's right.
That's good.
The one reason why I wanted that on my list is because when you and I did get into Clicks, they had not released any Fantastic Four stuff for a really long time because Marvel didn't have the rights to it. And so even though you and I had bought, maybe 3, 4, 5 different sets that had been released since you and I started playing the game, I didn't have any cool, Mr. Mrs. Fantastic. I didn't have any Human Torches or Things or Silver Surfers or Dr. Dooms, none of that. And the Fantastic Four starter set, Cosmic Clash, released all of the stuff that I care about when it comes to Fantastic Four. So it obviously released the team. It also released a Silver Surfer and a Dr. Doom.
Perfect 400-point Fantastic Four team.
Yes, and I thought the sculpts were amazing. I thought they did a great job with building the pieces to be representative of who the characters were in comics. So
and then like the most ridiculous Silver Surfer and Dr. Doom.
Yes, the Silver Surfer, overpowered, super awesome.
Especially when you play him wrong.
Yeah. So he had a thing where you could pick any speed power or something like that, and any attack power, and I chose hypersonic, and I pulse waved, and you're supposed to
5 damage.
Yeah, and so it's been nerfed now because pulse wave you only do 1 ever. And so when we were first playing them, I was doing full damage to anybody I did single target pulse wave to.
But we were messing up because you half your range for hypersonic,
and you half your range for pulse wave.
So we were only halving his range once, which I think he has like an 8
range.
So you were getting a hypersonic pulse wave from 4 away and making it easier to single target.
Escape, yeah. To single target and get away.
And we realized he was only supposed to be able to do that from 2.
Yes. So, but either way, an amazing sculpt, an amazing piece that represents how strong the Silver Surfer is, and then the Dr. Doom, cool sculpt, super annoying to play against potentially if you build around him correctly because he has some stop clicks. He gets to pick a defense power every time someone attacks him. So if you want to attack him up close, you could choose a reducer, or you could choose combat reflexes to make it difficult to hit him.
And before willpower was self-leadership, he could leadership and clear himself.
That's right, yeah. So I thought it was an awesome starter that represented the Fantastic Four that Clicks fans had been waiting to get new pieces for a really long time. It had been, I don't know how many years it had been, but since you and I had got into the game, I didn't have any of those pieces. And so I was like, yes, all the pieces I want, and I don't have to try to pull from an entire set. It's just right there in the starter. Right. Those are the pieces that I want the most. And they were well built. So that's my number 5.
That is a good one. My number 5 is Avengers Infinity.
Nice. Okay, our first set that we bought into.
Yeah, it probably could have made it higher, but that's part of it. Like the nostalgia, it was just awesome. It was around the time of Infinity War,
The movie, yeah.
And we were it was like the first set that released after we started getting into clicks. So we had been playing a little bit and bought some older sets, but it released, like, we were like, oh, this is coming out. And so it's the first set we had the anticipation of the release.
Yes.
And it's the first set we're like, dude, you want to split a brick?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Because up to that point, all we had bought were boosters from our local store.
And like, so we like split a brick and opened it up and
they had Colossals
together and traded. And it had the Colossals.
We didn't have any Colossals at that time.
So I freaking loved the Spider Buggy, of course. Didn't know how vehicles really worked at all, but I was like, this is awesome.
It looks really cool. So.
I mean, probably one of my favorite Hulks is the Colossal Hulk swinging the tank.
Yes, that is an amazing sculpt and pretty awesome piece in terms of representing how strong Hulk could be.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy pieces, Infinity Watch, and then the Colossal, like, cosmic Infinity and Kronos and Lord Chaos and Master Order, and
some of those really strong, powerful beings that you don't see released often.
So, I mean, it's not like super powerful set, but a lot of what I like, kind of cosmic type theme to it, and our first set we got into, our first exposure to Colossals. We were trying to figure out how the heck that worked, and
we fumbled through it.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked that set.
Absolutely, nice. And that was your number 5. So yep. I'll go. No, either way, you want to do number 4? Or you want me to do?
Sure, I'll do my number 4.
Okay.
My number 4 is Empire.
Is that the newest one?
That is.
Nice. Okay.
Avengers. The Avengers.
Well, technically the second to newest.
Oh, well,
we just
that's
had
true. War of the Realms.
War of the Realms released just recently. Marvel, man, they release way too much, way too often.
Now you got me thinking I might have messed up. I might have meant War of the Realms.
You probably meant War of the Realms. Yeah, I bet you did. Because Empire was okay, but...
No, I didn't like Empire that much. It meant War of the Realms. Wow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, that's okay. War of the Realms
just War of the Realms, because of the Guardians of the Galaxy sub-theme.
That's true, which you and I didn't really look into War of the Realms a ton.
Right.
And when we started opening that, it was a nice surprise to see those pieces being released.
Yeah, that was a set that was fun, partially because we didn't look into it at all first.
Right.
So it was all a surprise of what we were getting. And it was like, I don't know, it's like, I haven't got into a set in a while. I kind of want to get some pieces, and then we did that whole thing, and it was like, wow, awesome. Gamora, super rare.
Yes.
Groot is just uncommon, and Yondu, cool, awesome, uncommon, and the Guardians of the Galaxy team ability.
Oh yeah, that's right, because that's a new team ability.
Yeah, I think it was new to that set, maybe. Okay. I don't remember. It might have been an Empire.
It might have been Empire. Yeah.
But
then there was a Blade that was just randomly in there.
Like, I just liked, just on a whole, all the pieces. You have liked Asgardian a lot more than me in the past, but that kind of introduced some new Asgardians again, where I'm kind of like, oh, I might want to look into Asgardians.
Right.
And Loki, common Loki, that is like Dr. Fate from JLU, where you pay 50 points for one, and you can get as many more as you want for 10 points each. They have Prob and Mystics, and they're crazy.
Swarm team for cheap.
Yeah, and I'm just blanking now because there was so much I liked. Shifting Focus Thor.
Oh, dude, the Thor is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a different type of shifting focus, because normally when you shift into the other character, all characters get weaker as you hit them. This one did it opposite. It's like some of the pieces are strong on their top dials, and then as they get hit, they get weaker. But then you can shift into the other Thor, and as that Thor got hit, that Thor got stronger.
Yeah, so normally shifting focus, it's like utility depending on the situation. Like, I'm ranging you, now you base me up, so I'm going to switch in my close character. This one still kind of has that, but as he mentioned, it's like, well, this is my character I'm going to start with. He's going to go in, and once you damage him, I'm going to switch him out and be just as strong as I've been the whole time, even though you damaged me.
Which is completely different than what they normally have done.
So it is cool. And like you mentioned, some cool new, like, Midnight Sun, what's the other word I'm thinking of there? The one of the ones you like, but like Moon Knight had it. Oh, some new Defenders.
Yes, and they had Wrecking Crew. They released.
Oh, that's right.
Wrecking Crew.
Oh, Masters of Evil stuff. So it had a lot of cool sub themes. It wasn't just heavy as Guardian, then a little bit of this. The chases were kind of cool too. Like I really want Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
The Human Torch coming out of the like Eternal Flame or whatever looks awesome.
Yes. Thor's a chase.
Oh, there's a Venom.
Yes, true. So like so many cool, like I said, all across the
board. And then the super rare, there's a super rare of Thanos holding the Mjolnir with the Infinity Gems in it.
I forgot about that, dude.
So it's like I kind of go in waves on some of these sets, and so with Marvel, I don't get as heavy into as many of them as Squints. I'm more DC, and this is one of the ones that I liked as a whole a lot more, so I was more happy to get heavily into.
Absolutely. So, number 4 for me, and so like just before I get into that, number 4 is Marvel releases probably too many. WizKids releases probably too much Marvel versus WizKids releases too little DC. I kind of wish they would find a middle ground.
See, but I think my understanding is the DC thing is partially because of the way DC does their licensing.
Probably.
So I don't know personally for sure, but one thing I've read, and because I've seen a lot of discussion on this, is like DC kind of treats some of their creators a little better.
Yeah.
And so they get more, so it costs them a little more to use the licensing because they're,
which is fair.
So I think, and they have to get more approved through DC. I think Marvel is more okay, like get our product out.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it kind of gets overwhelming where like you get like, are you like, really, we just had another Marvel set? Like I'm not having had time to enjoy my pieces. So there's been so many Marvel sets where like there was 1 or 2 or pieces or maybe an entire team that I liked, but like I didn't feel like I could enjoy for that long.
One more thing I'm gonna add to this rant is I would be more okay with it if they kind of alternated a little better.
Right.
Because in my mind, you know, X-Men and almost even Fantastic Four and then like Avengers world are all kind of their own things. And then they throw in Spider-Man every once in a while. This War of the Realms was kind of a nice change up. But it's like, I kind of wish it was more waves because it's like, here's a ton of X-Men all back to back.
Right.
And now here's just, hey, you've been missing Fantastic Four. Here's everything Fantastic Four, back to back to back.
Yeah, that was annoying.
It's like,
because it was like the starter, and then it was the Fantastic Four set, and then it was the weird one, Fantastic Four Future Foundations or something.
And then it's like, hey, let's add Avengers onto everything.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, for me, why can't we get a little more alternating? Hey, we just did a cool Asgardian set with I would like a full Guardians of the Galaxy set. I'm glad that War of the Realms had a sub-theme, but now I'm probably going to wait longer for Guardians set. But let's get a new updated Hulk set.
Oh, gosh.
Let's do like Avengers, then X-Men, then Fantastic Four, then a specific character, you know?
Instead of just so much at one time. But anyways, not to get on
big
that
tangent. That could have been a whole nother video.
It could have been, you're right. It's just, it made it kind of difficult to pick some of these. All right, so we're on number 4. So for my number 4 is one that you might be surprised, possibly, I'm not sure. The old Guardians of the Galaxy set is my number 4.
Oh.
And so I do like that set because it released so many, like it released the entire team of Guardians of the Galaxy, all the pieces that you could want for a Guardians of the Galaxy team and more. Right. Some of the pieces that I hadn't even heard of and I had to go look into. And so, like, what were those 2 characters, like Warhawk and...
Warhawk, the, like, Shi'ar or whatever?
Yeah.
Shi'ar?
Oh, that's a team, yeah. But, no, I'm talking about the ones where they get to, like, switch between each other.
Oh, you're talking about,
They were on the Guardians of the Galaxy team.
Oh, my gosh.
No.
It's the dude that Sylvester Stallone played in...
Yes.
Now I can't think of the name, thanks to you.
My bad.
It switched... Is it Starhawk?
Starhawk, maybe, yeah.
What's the girl?
I forgot the girl, but those were cool pieces.
It's ridiculously stupid.
Yeah, and I didn't know who they were, but they were originally part of the Guardians of the Galaxy team. And then he also had some cool Thanos in that set, obviously, and a few other fun pieces. And so I thought it was just all in all a good set because it released like everything that you would want for a Guardians of the Galaxy team, plus some additional things.
Yeah,
and
that was also one where it wasn't like, because I couldn't even tell you what the chases are, but I think they were the zombie chases or something.
I think you're right, and so like it's just like whatever, like, and so that's maybe why it's one of my other favorite things because the pieces that I really wanted to play weren't insanely hard to get a hold of. There were some commons, uncommons, some rares, and super rares, but for the most part, you get your hands on most of what you wanted to play fairly easy.
Yeah.
So that was my number 4.
All right, so then what was your number 3?
Number 3. Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
Oh, good one. That's a good one.
All right, so I put this number 3. A large part of that was because it released more villains than I think a normal set does.
For Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. For Marvel, anyways. You're right. Villains normally kind of get the back seat, which, I mean, I guess that's understandable to some degree, but it was really cool that in the Superior Foes of Spider-Man, the focus was on the villains for the most part. And so you got like an entire Sinister Syndicate team.
Yeah.
And that's a really big team. There's a ton of villains in that team. And they weren't just commons and uncommons that like were weak and nobody would ever want to play. They were like strong pieces that were some of them were uncommons and whatnot, but there were some rares and super rares and chases that were strong pieces that make your Sinister Syndicate team actually strong and playable. One of the only sets that I am aware of that has a Kraven.
Oh.
And so not a character that I know a ton of.
He's cool.
Yeah, it's not a character that I know a ton about in comics, to be honest with you, but like it's just cool that there's a piece that isn't made just over and over and over.
I also remember him from the old cartoon.
Right. And so like I thought that was really cool that they made him for that set. And they had, I mean, I kind of want an updated version now that it's been forever, but
yeah, there's like, was it been 2 Spider-Man sets since?
Yes,
or at least
2 or
1.
3. So that was cool. Plus, they had like some cool bases that they released with it. The sculpts were amazing for like Sandman and for Hydra Man.
Oh yeah.
Some really cool sculpts with the bases that if it's a special trait that if they hit you, they give you this, or you can put it.
Oh yeah, the like FX bases. Or
whatever. You're right. That's what they're called, effect bases. So that was really cool. So I was really excited about the Sinister Syndicate team that you could build from that set. Plus, obviously, Spider-Mans. There were some really good Spider-Mans, some like cheap, like kind of okay Spider-Mans, all the way to your a little bit more expensive, super strong like Spider-Man, not Ultimate Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Superior Spider-Man, amazing. He was one of my favorite Spider-Mans to play because he was super strong. A cool sculpt as well.
Dude, one of my favorite pieces that I do not even own from that set that you always, I think, forget about is Ares.
Ares. That was one of my strongest pieces.
That's
that
one
I
of
had
the
for
first
the longest
ones
time.
you pulled like when we were first getting into it.
Yeah, we were buying just
like,
one booster at a time.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was he was super strong.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see him, but it was annoying because I could never put him on a team, like a theme team, for a long time. But it's I've gotten to a point where I can almost do that. So yeah, you're right. Ares was in that set, and it was really cool that they released him.
Yeah,
that was my number 3.
So my number 3 may be shocking. It even surprises me a little bit, but when I got down to it, I think Dark Phoenix Saga.
There you go. I love that set.
Funny thing is that is a set that I was 0% interested in.
Really? Oh yeah, because it was another animated set.
Yeah.
You were just like dogging on the animated sets.
I was not interested in it at all, which is weird because I loved the cartoon growing up.
Right.
And I was 0% wanted it at all. And to be honest, I think I maybe bought 2 total boosters or something.
Okay.
I think you grabbed me a couple at the pre-release.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh yeah, those are a couple things that are kind of cool. But it was like uncommon Sabretooth because I didn't have a Sabretooth.
Yeah, I know.
And
I loved it.
And as time went on, I ended up cherry picking a ton of pieces from that.
Yeah.
Like the Colossals, I still really want Dark Phoenix, but she's still really expensive.
She is, yes.
So I'm gonna wait till she's like not meta or something probably. or find a good deal on her, but she's awesome. But my favorite thing, and one of the reasons it kind of is at this point on my list, is because, like I mentioned, Sabretooth, the Brotherhood of Mutants in that set.
Oh yeah, they did a good job.
You can build an awesome Brotherhood of Mutants set team from just that set, and they synergize so well. They can clear each other's tokens and heal each other and do all kinds of stuff.
I love it.
Colossal, well, is he Colossal or giant-sized Juggernaut on the Colossal base?
He's on a Colossal base, but he's giant size.
But he's awesome. It's like, this is what I want for Juggernaut. This is sweet. Exactly. It's fun. It's on my Brotherhood of Mutants. There's a lot of Magnetos to choose from out there. The one from that set is a good one, but that Mystique was good.
Yes. Dude, yeah.
By far, Sabretooth was my favorite. And then, who is it? Toad and Blob are just annoying.
Super
which
annoying.
Is perfect for them.
Yes, and they hadn't released hardly any of those two pieces in a super long time.
And from those old X-Men movies, Toad was like randomly one of my favorites. I don't know why, just because, yeah, so that Brotherhood of Mutants is a big part of why it's on there, and we kind of, at one point, started playing around with, let's play around with meta, and so I got a bunch of those Proteuses.
Oh my god, I forgot about those Proteuses.
And they're so much fun.
Yeah, the Colossals, and they're super
so cool.
annoying, super cheap to play.
Yeah, so...
You're right, that is when we got into meta a little bit. Okay.
And then probably the last piece I'll probably mention from that set, I'll probably think of more later, but is the Colossal Iceman.
Oh, yes.
He is so cool. And an awesome Retaliator, but also just a cool piece.
Absolutely.
A cool Iceman. There's a few. I have a few more now, but when I first acquired him, that was like the only Iceman I had that I really liked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sweet.
That I surprised myself a little bit.
That's pretty high on your list.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that was your number 3, correct?
That was my 3.
Okay, so we're moving into 2s.
Yep. I'll go ahead with my number 2. Spider-Man Venom. Absolute Carnage.
Yeah, I was quite certain that was going to be on your list. I just wasn't sure exactly where.
Yeah, that it's got to be one of my favorite Marvel sets that have come out since we've been playing. Obviously,
it's a bold statement.
It had everything in it I wanted. It
Right.
introduced the secret identity stuff, which was so cool.
I forgot about how strong that was.
The autonomous common pieces, so they don't count against your
action total.
And then they can shift into the stronger version of themselves,
Right.
the basically superhero version. They need to make a freaking Hulk like that. But
Agreed.
I'm not going to digress like that right now. That alone was like commons and uncommons and was awesome. Then I did not care anything about the chases in that set. A lot of people loved them. They were super meta because they made Spider-Man family keyword really strong because they could turn generic keywords into Spider-Man family. But obviously we don't do as much of the meta. So to me, the super rares were like the chases, so they were easier to obtain, and they were the pieces I wanted the most.
Absolutely, some amazing sculpts.
Absolute Carnage, absolute freaking beast.
These
Null, so many Venom characters.
Doctor Strange, Venom.
Venom Doctor Strange is probably my favorite one of them. I really like Venom Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Venom Groot actually might be my favorite. Other than, maybe even above Doctor Strange, because I love Guardians. Venom Groot looks awesome.
Yeah,
he's cheap. He's effective. So I just love the whole set.
Venom's one of your favorite characters from Marvel.
Yeah,
So.
and Carnage was awesome, and being able to generate those like minions was really cool. So there was commons you wanted dupes of again, and cool objects.
Oh, they did release objects, you're right.
Noel had his sword. There was the Carnage symbiote. I think a Venom symbiote maybe, or maybe that was just in the old set.
I can't remember, to be honest.
There's the pumpkin bomb. So a lot of awesome stuff. And you mentioned Superior Foes, the villain side. Well, this was kind of like that too. It was heavily Venom and Carnage based.
Yes.
So
that was a great set.
oh,
You're
and
right.
then Trash Can Spider-Man and a lot of cool Spider-Mans. So
There was like 5 that were good. They weren't just like, oh, this one's okay. They were like almost all of them were good.
So Spider-Man is one of my favorite Marvel sub-themes with Guardians and things like that. So yeah, that said, I loved it.
Yeah, that was your number 2. Yeah, that was fantastic. Okay, so my number 2 was one that was already mentioned, but X-Men animated, Dark Phoenix Saga.
Yeah, it's just one higher than mine.
Just barely. So that was close. We almost had it in the same place. I really like that set for a lot of reasons. One is X-Men is one of my favorite Marvel themed teams and just story arcs. Number 2, you and I did grow up kind of in the era of the X-Men animated TV show. And so it was cool to see all the sculpts look like what I grew up watching on TV. And they did an amazing job releasing all of the pieces that I cared most about. Now, there are some older X-Men sets that I may mention in our honorable mentions and stuff like that. They have some cooler characters and cooler sculpts of certain pieces. But collectively, as an entire set, I feel like almost every piece in that set, in terms of the characters I care most about, were well done. And so you get like the Cyclops and the Jean Grey. I thought had a really cool character trait with each other, where like they can buff each other up if they're adjacent to each other. That makes sense, like in the actual TV show and in comics. The Beast is like your actual blue looking beast, which I think is cool. They have an awesome Professor X in his chair.
Oh, that's right.
And I like that Professor X. He was more difficult to build and play effectively than I thought he was going to.
But now, with the new rules, he might be better.
Yeah, because
no pushing damage and stuff.
So it's cool because like the Professor X is like a good support piece in that team. But if he does get hit, he can potentially start doing a lot of damage. So he's a little bit harder to play than I was hoping he was going to be, but I thought he looked awesome. He has potential to be really nasty, good support piece that will eventually become an attacker, almost like the Dr. Oz or Mr. Oz, but not as easy possible.
Oh, right.
Because he gets like these influence tokens. He has like a 9 range. He doesn't have to have line of fire. It's just anybody within his range, which is awesome. I love that piece. And like you did mention, I won't talk too much about the Brotherhood Mutants. I thought it was amazing because there were so many pieces. Obviously, we had some Magnetos. We had, I guess that's really one of the only ones. Magneto and who else? We had some Juggernauts. Mystiques and Juggernauts.
I didn't really have any Juggernauts.
I had a few Juggernauts that were okay, which were all fine and dandy, but they released all the cool ones that I feel like I hadn't had any pieces of, and I couldn't find any pieces that I liked of them that were in older sets, such as Pyro.
Oh,
there was an awesome Pyro. You've already mentioned Toad and Blob. I don't remember any.
And Sabretooth.
See, I was gonna mention that in a second. You're right. Honestly, when I went to go buy my boosters or my brick, I was like, dude, if I pull a Sabretooth and nothing else good, I will be happy. And I didn't.
He was an uncommon.
He was an uncommon, and I did not pull him the first time. I was so mad. But I finally got him because that Sabretooth is amazing, an amazing sculpt. It had been so long since they released a good Sabretooth, I feel like. And like you've already mentioned.
It's the only one I have.
Nice. Well, there was one that was released in... what's the newest? One of the newest X-Men's. Maybe Rise and Fall with the bigger character pieces when they started making the pieces bigger. Anyways, I think it has a rally die. But like you said, the way they built that team, they synergized so well with the whole clearing of tokens and getting to heal because of clearing the tokens. Like the Magneto's kind of weak. He's more of a support Magneto. Because he can TK and clear tokens if he does TK.
You can like TK2 people can.
Right. And so I just love that they synergize so well together.
And their team ability lets them clear tokens and heal too.
If
they hit high enough.
So it was just so amazingly well done, I thought. And like you said, Colossals. And one last thing before we move on, Hellfire Club, which was a keyword that I could have cared less about until I played a guy. Sebastian Shaw. But there was a guy that you and I play with occasionally who played Hellfire Club and played it super effectively. And I was like, wow, that's actually a really strong team with some cool pieces that I've heard of, but never played. I didn't know there was a Hellfire Club, to be honest. But yeah, Sebastian Shaw was one of my favorites because he's like a Hulk. The harder you hit him, or the more you hit him, the stronger he gets because he just absorbs energy and then he just spits it back out.
Right.
And so super fun.
Nice.
That was my number 2, and we're almost so now honorable mentions.
Moving on to honorable mentions.
Okay. So I mean, there's so many. Like I already mentioned, right? Marvel WizKids releases so much Marvel.
Yeah.
There was just when I was thinking of honorable mentions, I was thinking of just some of those sets that I like had some pieces in it that I really liked. And so I have quite a few. I'm gonna try to just not talk too much
You
about
have a lot of honorable mentions.
I'm gonna try to keep it to like 3.
Okay.
So one you already mentioned, it was when it made it into your top 5, and that was Avengers Infinity.
Yep.
One of the reasons why I liked Avengers Infinity so much was because of the Infinity Watch team.
Yep.
The Infinity Watch team I thought was so well done. They had those character traits where like
yeah.
if they die, they pass
on
on
their gems.
They pass the gem on to someone else on the team.
I forgot about that.
And so like the Gamora and the Drax. That Drax is one of my favorite Draxes because he's like the old like kind of villainous. He's like the old villainous Drax where like he's not really a good guy. He's kind of more of a villainous character. And he looks different than the Drax that all of us are used to seeing in the movies.
Right.
And so I thought it was really cool that they could pass the traits on.
Yeah, that was cool. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I love that they did that. And then, like you said, there were some really cool things.
They had, for their traits, they had like special, like Gamora had special advanced prob or some bonus to prob. And then when she passed it on, they just got prob and type thing. But you could pass all your gems to the same person, so you're beefing up that character.
Yeah, it's awesome.
As your characters die.
Exactly. And I thought it was super well done. Yeah. I loved it. And so, plus it was one of the first sets that we bought into. Yeah. And it was one of the only Adam Warlocks that they've released ever.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So, that was an honorable mention. One of my other honorable mentions was Fear itself. Super old.
Oh yeah.
The reason why
Fear itself.
Yeah, the reason why I made it in my honorable mentions is because I knew I'd be talking about a set that you like to play that has a lot of resources on it. You should go watch our DC top 5, and I don't want to ruin too much of it, but the Fear itself was one of the only sets I found that had a resource that was comparable to the resources that you have played so much of. Plus, that's actually a pretty cool storyline.
No, right? It is awesome.
The hammers and
the sculpts are awesome.
Sculpts are amazing, and then these characters are already super strong, like Thor or Hulk, and then he gets a hammer and he becomes like stupid strong. Yeah. But he does become villainous, but that's okay. And then you have like the mighty who have to go defeat these characters that have these hammers that are making them stupid strong. So I thought it was really cool because it gave you a resource that you could use to make your team stronger. Yeah. I thought it was a really cool storyline, and so I liked Fear itself. And then I guess the last one I was going to mention was Avengers Defenders.
Oh, okay.
Overall, the set kind of underwhelming, and you and I kind of discovered that recently in one of our unboxings. And so it has some cool pieces, some cool shifting focuses in that set, such as Doctor Strange. But the reason why I wanted to mention it is because it has one of the best Hulks. It has the World Breaker Hulk in it. He has like the shield on his back. He's carrying the axe and the sword. And it's like one of the strongest Hulks there is.
He's awesome.
And so I love that Hulk. And I unfortunately didn't pull it ever. I had to go buy it on Cool Stuff. So
there you go.
So yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
No, that's good. So I completely forgot about Fear itself. My honorable mentions. My first one is also one that you mentioned, and that is Superior Foes of Spider-Man, obviously.
Heck yeah.
I like Spider-Man and Absolute Carnage made it in my list. Superior Foes was awesome. I really like the Spider-Man sub-theme, everything you mentioned, the villains and things, Sinister Syndicate. Next one was the Hulk set.
Dang. Okay. All right.
I mean, purely because of the chases. Like, I don't really know much.
Dude, you're right.
I don't know what you're doing over there.
I know. I'm an idiot.
And I don't really know what else was in that set much other than those. And
there's some cool stuff, but like it's such an old. It's the first set that released Oreo bases. Right. And that's why I didn't put it in. I was like, man, it's kind of disappointing. Right. Because like it's a Hulk set, but like they're so weak now.
So the hulked out heroes are the chases, and they are awesome. It's like a hulked out Thor, a hulked out Captain America, a hulked out Wolverine, Cyclops, Iceman, and so it's awesome. That is by far one of the sets I wish they would re-release, like a new Hulk set with hulked out heroes and stuff. You know, they've been doing it with the Venoms.
Yeah, big time. Almost all the Venom stuff.
Yeah, so those were cool, and we house ruled them recently to make them a little more.
They were better. They were,
and some of the new rules help them out a little bit because they didn't have willpower.
It's stupid. So,
But they are so old.
yeah.
So that I love those guys is purely why that made it in honorable mentions. And then, shockingly, and depending on what your number one is, this is the only gravity feed that's been in the list so far, and that's the Captain Marvel.
Captain
movie.
Marvel. That's a good mention. That's a good mention for sure.
I'm an idiot apparently. That's another set that I was like, I don't care about that at all. I'm not buying any of it. And then he started busting out all kinds of things on me, and I'm like,
Kree, dude.
Because I don't know why I didn't think I wanted it, because I like Kree so much, and I underestimated it. Obviously didn't totally know what would be in it. Didn't know it'd be so Kree heavy, because I'm stupid, I guess. But Ronan alone,
Dude, that guy's amazing.
like, screw Chase Captain Marvel. She's awesome, but that Ronan is one of my favorite Kree pieces.
Oh yeah, now that with the new rule change, especially.
Yeah, especially with that, but he's so cool. I like his sculpt is cool. So Captain Marvel movie was an honorable mention for me. I thought about, I kind of like some of the Guardians of the Galaxy gravity feeds and things too, but yeah. So
Okay,
those are my honorable mentions.
Sweet. So number ones, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
You want me to go first, or you want to go?
I can go first.
All right. You're number one.
All right, number one. Cap and the Avengers. And I'm thinking that, I don't remember anything. Cap and the Avengers. It is a newer set. And like I said, there's been some really old sets that I thought were really good. And especially if you've been in the game for a long time, you're like, oh, you forgot this, you forgot that, and that's fair. It's like these are things that I have bought into and I've played the most. Cap and the Avengers, if there was a way for me to buy like just the set, like which I think what's his face, who does the unboxings, Scott Porter. I think they send him like full sets, meaning like every piece in the set.
I don't know. Maybe I know that.
I think they do prizes like that, right?
They do like some tournaments and stuff. Right. You win like a factory set or whatever.
I would have loved that because almost every piece in that set I wanted, and I have bought. And because they did a great job, I think, because it's like the originals. I do like doing the whole what if things, like, hey, what if so and so was this, or what if so and so was that? Some of them are cool,
but some of them I don't care anything about.
Exactly, and so this was just like the OG, like, hey, this is a Captain America, and like it's a Captain America. He's not like a what if it was the year 3000 and he was still alive or whatever. And then the Masters
Captain
of
America,
right, and then the Masters of Evil, Masters of Evil team, like all the Masters of Evil that I care about, anyways. So there was a new Atlas, there was a new Songbird, there was a few Baron Zemos.
Which, by no one cares about those guys.
Which, by the way, I don't know why.
Superior foes. We didn't even talk about
yes.
it. Neither one of us. We both talked about it.
So there was a cool Baron Zemo released in Captain Avengers, but I almost never play any other I almost never play any other Baron Zemo besides the one from Superior Foes. Which neither one of us mentioned it, but I still was impressed with the Baron Zemos that released, because it wasn't just Baron Zemo. It was some of the other characters who have held the mantle of Baron Zemo. And then what else? You had a ton of Avengers in there, obviously. You had Masters of Evil. You had Immortal Hulk.
Are you going to forget him?
Probably the best Hulk in terms of playability. And also represents like Hulk in terms of like he's basically on top dog. He's more or less Bruce Banner.
I don't know if we just don't know anything, but I'm gonna venture a guess and say the best Hulk ever. Like, at least how we play and in the games we've played with him,
like playability,
especially with the new rules and everything.
It's just so frustrating because I love Hulk. Obviously, he's probably my favorite character, and I've played Hulk pieces over and over again. I try to find ways to put him in my Avenger teams, my Defenders team, my Brute teams. So just like he's almost always on, especially when I first got into Clicks. Like Joker's like, dude, are you gonna play a team that doesn't have Hulk? But like he would always get outwitted. So like it's like, oh hey, cool. You have a Hulk, and I'm gonna do penetrating damage.
But especially because he like always had invincible, and that's always terrified me.
Right. And so he just gets outwitted, and even if you don't hit him, you're just like, okay, so I didn't hit him, but I have this other outwit over here, and I'm gonna outwit your charge. So now you just sit there and do nothing. And so I love that the Immortal Hulk has a stop click that allows him to be protected outwit. And then plus like the rage token, not the rage tokens, but the vengeance tokens with
like
the free attacks is just outrageous.
He's awesome because he starts out as Bruce Banner,
right?
So he can outwit you, and then he turns into Hulk and is super strong and has his stop click, and then if he gets damaged off of that,
right?
So the stop click, only his defense is protected outwit,
right?
But then he has an outwit that gives him protected outwit.
Yes, later on in his dial.
And you have to kill him multiple times.
Yes, which you collect the points for killing him the first 2 times, but
it's
still
not enough.
No, not that guy is insane. The only other Hulks that were comparable were the one that you mentioned, the Colossal Hulk swinging the tank.
He's awesome. He's one of my favorites.
The one that I mentioned from Avengers Defenders, the Immortal Hulk, or not Immortal, I'm sorry, the World Breaker Hulk.
Yeah, he's cool.
The Chase from Avengers Defenders, and then there's some movie gravity feeds that were released that have stop clicks.
Oh,
so I do like the ones
Thor
that
Ragnarok ones are kind of cool.
Yeah, and so there were some cool ones. Just like they just always seem to get outwitted or just. I don't know.
Focused down on him.
Yeah, they cost way too many points. Like for Immortal Hulk only being 100 points for everything that he can do, I was like, finally a Hulk that like isn't getting just obliterated. So yeah, that's my number one Captain Avengers.
No, that set is awesome. I mean, the chases I think were good too. Oh yeah, my favorite Thor.
Yeah, it's finally a cheapish Thor, multiple dials.
Yeah, because you can different point values. So. Very playable and really strong.
An Ultron that's outrageous. Yeah, the Trolls Atron.
Stupid.
Yeah, absolutely stupid.
What were you about to say about spoilers, Amelia? Did you think you knew what my number one was?
I think yours and I's might be the same. I don't know.
That's what I thought you were thinking.
Okay.
And actually, no.
Oh, okay.
I somewhat overlooked Cap and the Avengers.
Okay.
It probably could have made it in my list or at least honorable mentions after we talked about it.
Right.
But my number one is by far Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, well, I forgot.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
I mentioned it.
So I thought you might have known for a minute, but Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite Marvel set. The number one thing that he didn't talk very much about is the Black Order.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The entire Black Order. Thanos he mentioned, and that Thanos is awesome. Got all kinds of cool traits and like 3 different point values to play him on. One of the traits, you're dealing your opponent free damage at the beginning of the game. They get to choose if it's all their characters or one.
Rough.
Ebony Maw in that set is awesome.
Support piece to the max.
The newest Ebony Maw, was that Captain
It was ABPI.
Oh yeah, that's another set
ABPI
I
is a good honorable mention.
Yeah.
The Infinity Stones.
Yeah, we should both honorable mention that one.
But gems are technically gems. But.
Yeah, so the Ebony Maw from that set and the Ebony Maw from the old set are the 2 kind of closest in my mind that he's the only one of the newer ones I really like almost as much as the old one, but Proxima Midnight and Black Dwarf and Corvus Glaive.
I hate them.
From the old set, by far I like better than the new ones. They are amazing and ridiculous, and I've brutalized Squints a couple times with that team. Like, the Corvus Glaive gets like a blades that he can, instead of dealing you all the damage, he can heal some of it and deal you some of it.
Yeah.
And might even be exploit. Black Dwarf is just strong, almost like a Hulk type character.
Yeah, big damage.
And then Proxima Midnight has cool range stuff going on. I don't think she's a marksman, but I can't remember. It's been a while since I've gotten to play.
I'm pretty sure she is a marksman.
She is?
Yeah.
But she has this cool thing where she can she has a certain number of these tokens on her, and when she hits, she can leave one on you. So that lowers her range, but lets her do things to you and can multiple target. And
and if you do finally hit them and kill them, you get to take damage.
And then once you do kill them, you take damage for it. So however much you dealt them, not how much they took.
Right.
So one time, Squints got ripped off with one of his Supermans and hit me for 6. It only took 1 to kill me. But he had to take. So I mean, purely the Black Order in that set alone. But then there's all the Guardians.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite Star-Lord, I sculpt swapped him for a sculpt I liked better, but just the dial for that Star-Lord, he's an awesome leader. He can outwit through his teammates and increases all their defense so that whoever has the highest defense on your team, everyone gets that defense, and it's replacement. So then
you get to modify.
Modifiers come into play
Replace,
after.
modify. Oh yeah, it's dirty.
Yeah. So like those.
I did build a pretty sweet. I was pretty happy that I built a pretty awesome team around that piece, around Star-Lord.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I mean,
the Groot.
Rocket and Groot.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
the
Groot.
Rocket's not. I don't think from that. I think the Rocket is like an LE or something.
Yeah, you're right.
But the Groot is awesome. He's actually like giant size. He's pretty big, cool sculpt.
Yeah.
So I love that set. That is my number one favorite Marvel set.
That's right. So that's our top 5. As you can see, we love talking about this stuff, and our honorable mentions alone. I mean, we mentioned 6 other sets between each other.
Yeah. Well, a few more things on my number one. I
forgot.
Yeah. Kree. I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
A lot of awesome Kree and Elders of the Universe type pieces, like cosmic pieces.
Yeah, which they haven't released
really
except
cool
for ABPI. So there's so much to talk about. It's just crazy. It's hard to do.
Like half my top 5 had to do with Guardians of the Galaxy or Kree, or Black Order.
And then after that, it was Spider-Man and Venom. Yeah. So there's so much stuff that WizKids has released, and sometimes they do an okay job. Other times they do a really, really good job, and it's just we like talking about it, and wish we could play more of it. And talk more about it. But if you have a top 5, if you disagree, or if you think we forgot something that needed to be mentioned in all the mentions, please put it in the comment section below. We'd love to hear it. Make sure to like and subscribe.
See ya.